Terrorist attack on White House on Thanksgiving. Families on the streets, tourists walking around, and the White House just a few steps away, and suddenly a 29-year-old Afghan national shot two national security guards.
In Washington, D.C., where two of our brave members of the National Guard and the Department of War were brazenly attacked in a horrendous act of violence. They were shot. They're in critical condition.
This one incident has triggered headlines, anger, and a full national security review. So in this explainer, we are going to break down simple points. First, what exactly happened during the attack. Second, who was the accused? And third, why this single event has caused a major political storm in America. Hi, this side Samaksh and you are watching the Free Press Journal. And before going ahead, please like, share and subscribe so that you cannot miss any update. Let's start with the attack itself. Around 2:15 p.m. on November 26, Thanksgiving Eve in the United States, two members of the West Virginia National Guard were on routine duty near a crowded metro station, which is just a few hundred meters from the White House. Witnesses say a man approached them without warning and opened fire. Both soldiers collapsed instantly. Critically injured, other guard personnel on duty reacted immediately and firing back, and managed to disarm the gunman before he could escape. The entire area went into lockdown. Sirens, barricades and emergency vehicles surrounded the White House perimeter within minutes. Police identified the gunman as Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan national. According to US officials, he had arrived in America in 2021 during the massive evacuation after the Taliban takeover. Reports say he was resettled in Washington state and had previously served in Afghan security forces that once worked alongside US troops. US President Donald Trump has called the Washington DC shooting of two National Guardsmen as an act of terror and a crime against humanity. While briefing the media, the American leader blamed the previous Joe Biden government for the shooting, saying the suspect came from Afghanistan on 2021 airlift and called the country a hellhole. Let's take a look what he said.
My great fellow Americans, earlier today, on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, two members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C. were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those two members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country.
The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force is looking for an answer to four big questions. Was this attack planned? Did he act alone or was someone guiding him? Was there online radicalization? And most importantly, How did he pass the 2021 vetting process? No evidence of terror links has been found yet, but nothing is ruled out. But this is not a random crime scene. This is a Washington DC's most sensitive zone. Within walking distance of the White House, this Thanksgiving attack has left America shaken. And as investigators dig deeper into suspects' past, this story is far from over. I am Samaksh, signing off with a reminder to stay always safe, always aware. Thank you for watching the Free Press Journal.